The skies above the Pacific blazed with gunfire and death. Engines screamed through the tropical air. Metal twisted and burned as planes spiraled toward the ocean below. In this deadly theater of war, one pilot stood above all others. His story began not in the cockpit of a fighter plane, but in the quiet farmlands of Wisconsin. A Swedish immigrant's son would become America's most feared aerial warrior. Richard Bong carried 40 enemy kills to his credit. No American pilot before or since has matched this record. His Lockheed P-38 Lightning became a symbol of American air superiority. Over 200 combat missions filled his logbook. More than 500 hours of aerial combat shaped his legend. But fate had a cruel twist waiting. The machine that would claim his life wasn't an enemy Zero or a German Messerschmitt. It was an American aircraft designed for peace, not war. A revolutionary jet that promised to reshape aviation forever. On that fateful California morning, the sun shone bright and clear. The routine test flight should have been simple. Instead, it would steal away a hero on the very day the world changed forever. The atomic age was born as America's greatest ace drew his final breath. How does a man survive the deadliest air battles in history only to perish in peacetime? How does a farm boy from the Midwest become a legend that echoes through generations? This is that story. The romance that captured a nation's heart began with a photograph tucked inside a cockpit. The quiet hero who preferred simple words to grand speeches faced his enemies at point-blank range. Victory after victory built his reputation, while humility kept him grounded. September 24, 1920 marked the arrival of Richard Bong in Superior, Wisconsin. 9 children would eventually fill the Bong household. Carl Bong had crossed an ocean from Sweden seeking a better life. Dora brought her Scots-English heritage to their union. Together they built a farm in the tiny community of Poplar. Hard work defined every sunrise on the Bong farm. Simple values guided every decision. Young Richard learned to handle machinery with natural skill. His personality remained quiet and unassuming throughout his childhood. Teachers found him to be a dedicated student. Athletic competitions showcased his competitive spirit. Nothing about the boy suggested he would become a national hero, yet the seeds of his destiny were already planted. The skies above Wisconsin would soon call to him with irresistible force. President Calvin Coolidge established a summer White House near Superior in 1928. Mail delivery required regular flights over the region. These aircraft followed a route directly above the Bong family farm. 8-year-old Richard would stop his chores to watch them pass overhead. The memory stayed with him forever. "Those planes flew right over our heads," he would later recall. The moment sparked an unshakable desire to join them in the sky. His childhood dream had found its target. Superior State Teachers College welcomed Richard after high school graduation. Academic pursuits filled his days, but his heart remained in the clouds above. The civilian pilot training program offered him a pathway to his dreams. He enrolled immediately in 1940. Solo flight came naturally to the 20-year-old farm boy. His instructors recognized something special in his handling of aircraft. The quiet confidence he displayed on the ground translated into exceptional skill in the cockpit. Wings had found their perfect match. May 1941 brought Richard Bong to the U.S. Army Air Corps. Europe burned with war while tensions mounted in the Pacific. The peaceful farming life gave way to military discipline and training. His transformation from civilian to warrior had begun. Early flight instructors immediately noticed his exceptional abilities. One Czech pilot would later describe him as one of the finest natural pilots he had ever encountered. Bong didn't simply operate aircraft, he seemed to communicate with them on an instinctual level. Understanding came to him without effort. Control surfaces responded to his touch like extensions of his own body. The mechanical aspects of flight made perfect sense to his farming background. Years of working with machinery had prepared him for this moment. Luke Field in Arizona became his next destination. Advanced training awaited the promising young pilot. Among his gunnery instructors stood a future U.S. senator and presidential candidate. Barry Goldwater would remember Bong as an exceptionally bright student with obvious natural talent, intelligence and skill combined in perfect harmony. The instruction period passed quickly as Bong mastered each new challenge. His commission as second lieutenant arrived in January 1942. The Army recognized his potential by making him a gunnery instructor. Teaching others revealed his patient nature and deep understanding. Fellow pilots learned from his calm explanations and steady demeanor. But the sidelines couldn't hold him forever. Combat called to America's future ace. Hamilton Field, California welcomed him in May 1942. His Destiny aircraft waited on the tarmac. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning would become his weapon of choice. This radical twin-engine, twin-tail design offered speed and range beyond any American fighter in service. Germans would later nickname it the fork-tailed devil. For Bong, it represented the perfect marriage of pilot and machine. His letters home praised the aircraft's handling characteristics. It was the easiest plane to fly he had yet encountered. Training at Hamilton Field revealed his mischievous personality. Aerial antics became his specialty during off-duty hours. The most famous incident involved an unauthorized loop around the Golden Gate Bridge. Market Street in San Francisco felt the roar of his engines as he flew impossibly low. Clotheslines snapped in his wake as laundry scattered through the air. The stunt earned him a severe reprimand from General George C. Kenney. The 4th Air Force commander was not amused by such reckless behavior. Yet something about the young pilot impressed the general. Raw skill had executed the dangerous maneuver flawlessly. Kenney recognized talent when he saw it. Instead of ending Bong's career, the incident planted his name in the general's memory. When Kenney received orders for the Pacific Theater, he specifically requested the troublemaker. September 1942 carried Lieutenant Richard Bong toward his date with destiny. The Pacific War waited for America's future ace. His P-38 Lightning would soon taste combat in the deadly skies above New Guinea. The 9th Fighter Squadron became his home unit upon arrival. Combat experience couldn't wait for gradual introduction. The 39th Fighter Squadron needed immediate reinforcement in New Guinea. Bong found himself thrust directly into the thick of aerial warfare. December 27, 1942 marked his baptism by fire. The skies above Buna, New Guinea witnessed his first kills. 2 Japanese aircraft fell to his guns that day. The Silver Star recognized his courage under fire. The farm boy had become a killer. 8 days later, 2 more enemy planes joined his tally. The following morning brought another victory. 5 confirmed kills in just 2 weeks officially made him a fighter ace. His learning curve defied all expectations. Flying skill alone didn't explain his deadly effectiveness. Tactics separated Bong from other competent pilots. He considered himself a poor marksman despite his instructor background. His solution was elegantly simple and incredibly dangerous. Point-blank range became his signature. Enemy aircraft had to be close enough to touch before he opened fire. This aggressive approach guaranteed hits but required nerves of steel. Debris from exploding targets routinely peppered his aircraft. At least one collision occurred with an enemy plane he had just destroyed. His P-38 would return from missions riddled with holes. Emergency landings became routine as battle damage accumulated. Yet he continued to press his attacks to minimum range. Throughout 1943, his victory count climbed steadily. The Battle of the Bismarck Sea added to his reputation. July 26th brought his greatest single-day achievement. 4 enemy fighters fell to his guns in a single mission over Wewak. The Distinguished Service Cross recognized this extraordinary feat. Promotion to captain followed in August. His legend grew not just from his kill count, but from his personality on the ground. No swaggering hero emerged from the cockpit. Dick Bong remained the calm farm boy who happened to be the best fighter pilot anyone had seen. Humility defined his interactions with fellow pilots and ground crews. His ferocity in combat contrasted sharply with his quiet nature on base. Late 1943 brought Captain Bong back to the United States. 21 kills had earned him a well-deserved leave. His old college hosted a homecoming event that would change his life forever. Romance waited in the audience. Marjorie Vattendahl caught his eye immediately. The pretty college student and the war hero fell deeply in love. Their courtship became a national sensation as newspapers covered every detail. America embraced their fairy tale romance during dark wartime days. January 1944 carried Bong back to the Pacific Theater. Marjorie's photograph accompanied him on the long journey. His new P-38 Lightning soon displayed her enlarged image on its nose. The aircraft earned the name Marjorie in her honor. This romantic gesture captured hearts across America. Love letters filled newspapers as their relationship symbolized hope for the future. The photograph would accompany him through every subsequent mission. Her smile watched over him in the deadliest skies on Earth. Combat resumed with renewed intensity. April 12, 1944 brought victories 26 and 27 to his record. Eddie Rickenbacker's World War I record of 26 kills had officially been surpassed. General Kenny celebrated by promoting him to major on the spot. America now claimed its official Ace of Aces. War bond tours called the hero home once again. Public appearances and speeches filled his schedule. Yet the action drew him back like a powerful magnet. September found him returning to the Pacific. His new assignment carried instructor duties rather than combat requirements. Staff positions typically kept officers away from dangerous missions. But Bong insisted on flying with his students. Leadership meant sharing the risks with those under his command. Combat always seemed to find him regardless of his official status. October and November 1944 brought 8 more enemy aircraft to his tally. Dangerous missions over Borneo and the Philippines tested his skills repeatedly. His voluntary participation in combat as an instructor demonstrated extraordinary dedication. The nation's highest award recognized such exceptional bravery. The Medal of Honor waited for presentation in the Philippines. December 12, 1944, brought General Douglas MacArthur to a dusty airfield for the ceremony. America's greatest hero received his greatest recognition. 5 days later, brought his 40th and final aerial victory. December 17, 1944, marked the end of his combat career. General Kenny had witnessed enough close calls and narrow escapes. The risk to morale from losing such a hero had grown too great. Orders came down immediately. America's Ace of Aces would return home permanently. The war in the Pacific continued to rage, but his fighting days were over. Protection of a national symbol took precedence over additional combat missions. A hero's welcome awaited his return to American soil. Richard Bong had transcended his role as a pilot. National icon status brought new responsibilities and opportunities. His focus shifted toward his future with Marjorie as wedding plans took shape. February 10, 1945, witnessed their marriage ceremony in his Wisconsin hometown. Over 1,000 guests filled the venue to capacity. Newsreel crews captured every moment for a war-weary nation seeking joy. The fairy tale wedding provided hope and celebration during difficult times. California became their new home after the ceremony. The Army Air Forces had identified a critical mission for their top ace. Test pilot duties awaited rather than a comfortable desk assignment. His exceptional flying skills were needed for a dangerous new project. Lockheed's Burbank plant housed America's aviation future. The P-80 Shooting Star represented the nation's first operational jet fighter. Revolutionary technology promised to transform aerial warfare forever. But the temperamental machine had already claimed other test pilots' lives. The jet age was dawning with all its promise and peril. Propeller-driven aircraft, like his beloved P-38, belonged to the past. These new machines operated on completely different principles. Learning their quirks and limitations required exceptional skill and courage. Bong's unmatched feel for aircraft made him the perfect candidate. His instinctive understanding of flight dynamics could help tame this revolutionary technology. The assignment carried prestige, but also extraordinary danger. Every flight pushed the boundaries of known aviation science. Training began immediately as he logged hours in the sleek new aircraft. The P-80's performance capabilities far exceeded anything he had previously flown. Speed and altitude records fell regularly to these jet-powered machines, but reliability remained a serious concern. Technical problems plagued the early jet engines. Fuel systems required constant attention and maintenance. Emergency procedures differed drastically from propeller aircraft. The margin for error had shrunk dramatically in the high-speed jet environment. August 6, 1945 dawned clear and bright over Burbank, California. Major Richard Bong prepared for a routine acceptance flight in his assigned P-80. Only 12 previous flights in jet aircraft filled his logbook. Just over 4 hours of total jet time barely qualified him as experienced. Takeoff proceeded normally as the sleek fighter lifted into the morning sky. Then disaster struck without warning. The primary fuel pump failed immediately after leaving the ground. This was a known issue with documented emergency procedures. An auxiliary pump stood ready for exactly this situation. Standard protocols called for immediate switching to the backup system. But something went wrong in those crucial moments. Whether he forgot the procedure or couldn't reach the controls remains unknown forever. The engine began to starve for fuel as the aircraft started to fall. Bong demonstrated his character one final time by steering away from populated neighborhoods. His last act protected innocent civilians from the crashing jet. Then he attempted to bail out. Altitude was far too low for parachute deployment. The silk never had time to open before impact. Richard Bong, America's ace of aces, died instantly in the crash. 24 years of life ended in a few tragic seconds. History played a cruel joke that day. The atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima at almost the same moment. Front pages across America shared space between the hero's death and the dawn of the nuclear age. One chapter ended as another began in the most dramatic fashion possible. His story serves as a powerful reminder of an entire generation's sacrifice. Young men and women answered their nation's call without hesitation. They faced impossible odds and achieved incredible victories. Many paid the ultimate price for freedom's cause. Thousands gathered in Poplar, Wisconsin for his funeral. Full military honors befitted the nation's greatest ace. His widow Marge was only 21 years old when she became a war widow. Though she would eventually remarry and raise a family, his memory remained sacred. She dedicated her remaining years to preserving his legacy and honoring fellow veterans. Her advocacy work ensured that his story would continue inspiring future generations. When she passed away in 2003, burial beside her first love completed their eternal reunion. Memorials across the country bear Richard Bong's name today. The Richard Bong Veterans Historical Center in his hometown features a restored P-38 Lightning. The aircraft wears the same paint scheme as his beloved Marge. Visitors can see exactly what America's greatest ace flew into combat. His combat record of 40 confirmed victories has never been equaled by any American pilot. Modern warfare and changed tactics make such tallies virtually impossible today. He remains the gold standard for aerial combat effectiveness and courage under fire. Numbers alone cannot capture his complete legacy. The humble farm boy became a symbol of hope for a nation at war. His romance with Marjorie captured hearts and imaginations during the darkest days. Their love story provided light when the world seemed consumed by hatred. His tragic death at the dawn of the jet age serves as a stark reminder of progress's price. New technologies bring new dangers that must be faced by brave souls. Test pilots continue his tradition of pushing boundaries and accepting risks for the greater good. He represented the very best qualities of his generation: courage, Humility, dedication, and love defined his character. These values guided him from Wisconsin farmland to Pacific battlefields to California test facilities. His example continues to inspire those who follow. The era of heroes produced many remarkable individuals. Richard Bong stood among the greatest of them all. His story reminds us that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things when circumstances demand greatness. The quiet farm boy became an immortal legend through service, sacrifice, and an unshakable commitment to duty. His legacy lives on in the hearts of those who remember. Freedom's price was paid by young men like Richard Bong, who chose service over safety. Their sacrifice secured the world we inhabit today. We must never forget their courage or take their gifts for granted.